If you're a data professional, you definitely know this feeling. You spend weeks, maybe even months, crafting what you think is the perfect dashboard. The charts are slick, the colors are on point, the data is clean, and then nothing. It just falls flat. So many of us get trapped in this loop, building beautiful things that nobody uses. Today, we're going to figure out why that happens, and more importantly, how to break that cycle for good. So let's just dive right into the question that keeps so many analysts up at night. You poured all your skill into a project, but the stakeholder just isn't impressed. Or, even worse, the dashboard is completely ignored after a week. Why does this happen over and over again? I know, it's a painful moment, but figuring out the real reason is the first step toward a massive shift in your career.
Our first instinct is always to blame the technical stuff, right? We think, oh, maybe I should have used a line chart instead of a bar chart, or my SQL query probably wasn't optimized. But here's the thing. The real failure almost every single time happens way before you even open up your software. It's not a technical failure, it's a strategic one. The business question was vague, or the KPIs you were tracking had nothing to do with what the business actually cared about.
And this quote right here, it gets to the absolute heart of the matter. A tool, any tool, can just visualize data, but only a human, only an analyst, can interpret it, find the meaning, and figure out what to do next. Your real value isn't in how well you can click around in Tableau or Power BI. It's in using those tools to solve a problem. The dashboard is just the vehicle. You are the driver. You're the problem solver. Okay, so this tool-first mindset leads to a huge and honestly a pretty unspoken problem in the data world. We call it the 80% career trap. And it's the real reason so many talented, smart analysts find their careers just stalling out. And believe it or not, it has almost nothing to do with how good they are technically. That's the number. Some estimates suggest that a whopping 80% of data analysts get stuck. They hit this invisible ceiling where everyone sees them as a reliable person who can build a report, but not as a strategic partner who can actually push the business forward. They're good enough to get hired, but they really struggle to get promoted. So why? Why is that number so incredibly high? Well, this slide just lays it out perfectly. Aspiring analysts, and even experienced ones, will spend months and months mastering SQL, learning Python, getting certified in new tools, but how much time do they spend really learning the business or practicing critical thinking? We're talking minutes, maybe. This huge imbalance creates a whole generation of analysts who can build literally anything you ask for, but they don't know what to build, or more importantly, why it even matters. And it really just boils down to this. Knowing the tools, that's your ticket into the game. It'll get your resume noticed and get you in the door. But it's your ability to think, to really understand the business, and to frame problems the right way, that's what's going to get you that promotion, that raise, and that seat at the table where the real decisions are made. So, if you want to land one of those high-impact, high-paying data jobs, you have to understand what companies are actually writing the checks for. And I'll give you a hint. It's not for pretty charts. They are paying for clarity, for answers, for direction. These right here, these are the high-value questions your boss is secretly asking about you. Can you take a messy, confusing business problem and make it simple? Can you dig past the surface-level stuff to find the actual root cause of an issue? And maybe most importantly, can you take what you found in the data and turn it into a real strategy and then convince people to actually do it? This is what separates the junior analysts from the senior leaders. And the difference in pay, well, it's just staggering. Look at this. You have two analysts. Both know the exact same tools, same level of SQL, same certifications. One is stuck making a junior-level salary, while the other is earning 4, 5, even 6 times more. The difference isn't the software they know. It's the impact they create. And that impact is driven entirely by their thinking. So the key that unlocks all of this higher impact, this higher income, is something we call analytical sharpness. And no, it's not another tool you have to learn or another certificate to get. It's a mindset. It's a completely different way of approaching your work. So what is it really? Well, analytical sharpness is the skill of solving problems through data. It's about being more of a detective than a report builder. It means you know how to ask the right questions, you're great at finding those hidden connections that everyone else misses, and, crucially, you know how to translate those nerdy insights into a clear plan that the business can actually act on. Think about it. We live in a world where anyone can go on YouTube and learn the basics of a data tool in a weekend.
The tools are commodities now, but the ability to think critically, strategically, and creatively with data, that is incredibly rare. And in any market, rarity is what creates value.
Okay, so we've diagnosed the problem. We've identified the solution. Now, let's get practical. How do you actually make this shift? How do you go from being just a tool operator to becoming a true data thinker? Here's the game plan.
First and foremost, this is an identity shift. A tool operator is completely obsessed with the how. How do I build this chart? How do I write this query? The problem solver, on the other hand, is obsessed with the why. Why did our sales drop last quarter? Why are these specific customers leaving? Why does this metric even matter to begin with? Just shifting your focus from how to why is the single most important step you can take.
And here's a simple framework to put that why into action. See, before you even think about touching the data, you start by breaking down the business problem. Then, you make sure you deeply understand the company's priorities. From there, you choose metrics that actually measure what matters. And then only then do you dive into the data to find the patterns. And the final step, you communicate what you found, not like a data dump, but like a strategist telling a clear story.
You know, that last step is so much more important than most people realize. Your analysis can be absolutely brilliant, Nobel Prize-worthy stuff. But if you can't communicate it effectively, it has zero impact. It might as well not exist. This 80-20 rule is a powerful way to remember that your ability to frame the story is actually 4 times more important than the technical work you did to find it.
Seriously, just think about the last presentation you saw. A year from now, is anyone going to remember the exact hex code you used for the bar chart? Of course not. What they will remember is the clarity you brought to a confusing situation. They'll remember the confidence you gave them to make a big decision. They'll remember the story you told that made everything finally click into place. So I'll just leave you with this one question to think about as you go about your work this week, this month, this year. Constantly ask yourself, is my main job here to build charts, or is it to drive real, meaningful change for my company? Because your answer to that question will define your entire career. Thanks for tuning in.